Hey everybody, welcome back to the Capture Scratch podcast. I'm Mike and I'm here with Joey as always. And today we are going to, I'm mobile today. I'm actually traveling. I'm in Chicago in a hotel room, so hoping that my lighting and audio is acceptable. Like, you know, Joey's is a lot better than mine is today. So,
yours
Joey,
is usually better. So yours is usually better. So you owe me. I owe in this competition to have a little bit better composition sometimes. So I'm personally very happy that you're traveling, and I'm very happy about your misery. No, I'm
working with the kit I got. You know, I mean, I had to pack light for this one because it's just me as the sole videographer for. I'm shooting some trade show video, so I'm going to be running around the trade floor, and I kind of have like a single light dual camera setup. So I've got my C70, which is what I'm being recorded on now, and then an R5C as well. So two cameras there. And I also have a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which I picked up just to kind of have as a, you know, I can get quick B-roll with it, and it's nice and small, handheld kind of thing. So
you're leaving out the coolest part, though. You got to tell them what you're using for the light.
Yes, you're right. I talked about the camera specs. Now the light I'm using is the Ulanzi AL60, which is an inflatable light. So for those that are like, how are you traveling around with light? It inflates, and it's really cool because it has like a little built-in inflating device that's like, there's like a little tiny like watch battery, I guess, it's inside the inflator, and it stays on the light itself, so you can deflate it and then roll it up, and then the light's powered by a power bank, but you don't need that power bank to inflate it. It just has like a little watch battery or something small, tiny battery inside that. It's inside the self-inflating inflator, and you basically unroll it, hit the inflate button, it pops into like a cylindrical shape. I'll put a picture probably up at some point to show. And it's a nice light to have, and I'm currently using it right now to light me in this hotel room that doesn't have a lot of good lighting. So it's a really flexible light, and then like it rolls up, and I fit it into my personal item, which was my backpack. So it's really cool that it gets down to a size that you can manageably bring it around, because, like, you know, obviously we have our awesome, you know, COB lights or our, you know, tube lights and those, but they won't fit into a backpack like this thing will. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually super excited that you're using it, because I've seen ads for it a couple times on social media, and, you know, there's a million products on social media, especially related to filmmaking nowadays. So yeah, I didn't really take it too seriously, especially because most of it was like gym related. But then I started seeing like, oh, it's bi-color, and then I looked at it, see it's very true to color. So I was like, oh, so I don't know really what the difference would be. So that's super cool, and it's what a practical idea, because I don't really travel very often for my work. You know, my stuff is more local freelance. I have a full-time role, and I always wonder or get stressed even thinking about what would I do if I had to travel. So that's cool that that's a suitable solution for you.
It was, yeah, absolutely. And it was one of those things where, like, yeah, I was like, oh man, like, how am I going to light? You know, you need to be able to light. And I'm going to be in a trade show, so there's going to be like a lot of high key lighting anyway. But just like if you're in a dark corner and like you're behind a bunch of displays or something like that, you want to be able to have like something to pop in. And this is a 60 watt, so it's not like the brightest light. But right now, and it's actually cool. There's a little remote that you can use to, like, you know, control it. Oh shoot, I changed some of the settings by accident, but you can control the intensity with this remote. You can control the white balance. So like you basically turn it on, and then it is a little bit of like a, you know, finicky interface a little bit, but once you get the gist of like which button does what and how to turn it off and on, that kind of thing, this guy it has a little slot that it's magnetically attached to the handle, but also it detaches and you can have it remote. And it's, I think, through Bluetooth that it has its own internal Bluetooth connection that it uses. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate it as its own device for it, though.
Yeah, oh, it's awesome. And then, like I said, it's powered off of a power bank. So I'm actually using a V-mount battery that has a USB-C out, and it's you know, that'll run it all day. And there's another note about travel, which is actually this is probably a good thing to talk about, especially because I had to do a lot of research to get on that plane with batteries, and it's one of those things where you're like, oh man, like, you know, there's a limit, like and so the limit is, there's actually no limit for under 100 watt hours, which all of our camera batteries, like my C70s batteries, the small A30s, BPA 30s, are 45 watt hours. So I have two of those. You know, the R5C takes the smaller Canon LP EN or whatever batteries, and those are small. They're like 30 something watt hours. They're small, but then you start getting up to like the V mounts, and a lot of them you'll see like they're 99 watt hours, so that they can be air travel approved.
Yeah.
So the TSA doesn't have any limit on those as long as you fit them in your carry-on, because if you can't check, it's actually illegal to check lithium ion batteries, so definitely don't do it. I did bring one battery that's over the 100 watt hours, but you have to, usually the airlines will let you have TSA allows you to have up to two, between 100 and 160 watt hour. Anything over 160 they don't let you fly with. So
Gotcha.
so if you have like a 200 watt, like I actually have a 200 watt V mount that I use with the Komodo, I would have to use this one that I'm using, which is 130 watt hours.
Interesting. I would never. I mean, I probably would have been stopped, and my whole job would have been ruined from
that.
TSA.
And I had this like paranoia during my planning process. I was like, I cannot, I cannot afford to be stopped. But this battery that I'm using, the V mount that I'm using it has power delivery, and it can be charged with a USB-C cable. That's why I'm like, I need, I have power banks too, which are like 37 watt hours or like, but like that doesn't have the power that this thing does, and this thing will run all day.
Which one is that? Is that the small rig?
It's actually not small rig. It's by here, actually, I can probably grab it.
Mike, how will you power your system as we record?
It's got a nice long USB cable.
Oh my God, setup, look at that.
So it's called ZG Cine. It's I guess a Chinese brand, but there's two USB-C ports on it. I don't know if you can see it. Everybody can see it, but
neat.
Yeah, so
Very
there's
cool.
got two, and one of them is PD out, and the other one is PD in out. So basically you can actually charge this thing with a USB in, and then have it outputting a power out. So if, like, for example, if I'm on the trade show floor tomorrow and for some reason this battery, which it's not going to, but if it gets down to like 1 bar and it's like, oh, I need to still power this light, you can basically have it going power out for the light, and then have a USB-C, like a laptop charger or something like that, charging the other side on the power delivery in, so that basically it'll create like a nice loop, and you'll charge and output at the same time, which is pretty awesome.
Laptop chargers are my favorite thing. I have it on my small rig. I have the USB chargeable.
Yeah, it's
and
like
oh my
life-saving.
gosh, those laptop chargers are so fast too. You can get a full battery in I don't know, 30 minutes or less.
And the whole power delivery technology is just amazing. The PD, like when you see that, any product with that, like the R5C can actually take power delivery and be able to be ran off of a USB-C charger, like a laptop charger or something like that. Which is why, again, I'm going to have the R5C also plug into that if I need it, that kind of thing. It's like really cool to just have a battery that can have those two PD ports out, so you can power multiple devices all day with that big brick.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
And being able to, honestly, I could have gotten another one and just had two of them. But again, I'm trying to travel light too. Like, that is a lot of space to take up. So,
and that kind of weight really, it literally does weigh on you, and you got to think about that. And I like this. I like that you're going lighter though, because I think I always find it fascinating when people do travel or have to go like to a lot of different places for their work, and they have to figure out what can I really bring on this trip and what could just get the job done. And I'm so impressed by it, and I know you're gonna make a great product out of it.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, I appreciate it. And so I'm hoping, man, it's one of the things where I think somehow, even though I only was limited to a personal item, a checked bag, carry-on bag, which was that Pelican case. And then I have a long case for my, that I checked for like the tripods and stuff like that. Somehow I still feel like I overpacked, but
yeah,
better be safe than sorry.
And you're by yourself down there?
Yep. So it's going to be just
so
me.
brave.
I'm the only videographer. So, I mean, I have like producers with me and folks that are going to help with actually like a lot of people are going to help me carry stuff and that sort of thing. Even that's not their job, but like they're going to, I can grab a bag, I can grab this. I'm like, thank God, because even though, it's small, I still have a lot. It feels like a lot, honestly, but
it's always a lot. And that's great that there's going to be people helping you. So, but you brought the Canon along for the trip to make it a little bit of a lighter situation, I imagine.
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah. I mean, the C70 is the bulkier of the two. The R5C is like an R5, but I mean, people know at this point it's a 3-year-old camera at this point, so it's got just like the big bulky fan and it's that sort of thing. So it's a nice smaller size, but then the C70 is just like a gigantic brick. But
I
it's like
feel
that in between like a bigger cinema camera, like a C300 and C400, and then like the R5C. Like, so it's a kind of like a, it's got the XLR ports. It's got a bigger, it has the ability to have the BPA 60, which is a big chunky battery. It could run all day on that. Like I said, I brought the BPA 30s just to have a smaller kit, but I could have brought a BPA 60 and probably been good for all day tomorrow. But
that's so neat.
yeah.
That's so cool. I do love my Lumix cameras, I think they're some of the best like stuff for video nowadays that you can find. But I do wish that they came in other things, but just like more like mirrorless camera bodies. I do wish there were more box style camera bodies and more adaptable things like those. They're just beautiful cameras, and I think they're so usable in so many situations.
Yeah, I mean, Canon does do a good job of like they're a really interesting beast because they have a lot of like the tactile functions of like the C70 is like littered with all the great buttons on the outside. Like you have a button for your peaking, you have a button for your waveform, you have a button for everything, and I love that. And the R5C even somehow manages to do that because it's a photo, it's the hybrid one, so you can switch between the two and it has a separate OS for both of them, which I love. Both video or cinema. It's like a cinema operating system, and then the photo. But it also they dual purpose the buttons, so you have like your photo buttons that you'd see on an R5, but then you have like those same buttons will also do the cinema stuff that the C70 does. So you're like, you still have a button for peaking, you still have a button for changing the display options when you're in the cinema operating system. It's really cool how they implemented that. But then they do things like they just gave the R5C C-Log 3, which is the lesser of the two log profiles. Like the C70, I'm currently shooting in C-Log 2, and that's Canon's best log profile. And C-Log 3 is like the middle ground between like a Rec 709 gamma curve and the C-Log 2. So I mean it's good in that respect that it is a log profile, but it does sacrifice in the highlights and the shadow detail and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where like the R5C is awesome in a lot of respects, like the power delivery, being able to just power it off of a USB input is awesome. Like I said, the button layout's great and all that, but then you get to like, well, and I mean, the batteries are not, you can't really shoot that long with the internal battery. Hence why I have this V mount with me, because it's like, you need kind of like that external power to keep it going. But like, that's kind of like with most mirrorless cameras, with the smaller batteries.
So is that thing all caged up? Are you all rigged up on it, or do you travel? How do you travel a little less with this?
Travel is super light. Again, everything had to fit in this Pelican that I got behind me. So I actually don't have it rigged out. It's really just kind of like a small, it's like its normal setup. Maybe, no, not maybe. It does have the cage on it, but without the top handle and all that stuff. It's just literally just the camera. Same with the C70, really. It's just, I think I have the top handle for it so I could put the audio receivers on top of it, but it's just a slim down kit for me, traveling.
How do you feel about that? I know we heard my side of it from this very comfortable bedroom of mine where I'm not at work on a trip, but what do you feel? Do you prefer this slim down profile? Because I kind of go back and forth myself. Or do you prefer to really deck it out? And we know you have a whole barrage of cameras that you use, so like let us in on what your preference is here.
So as far as like, I think the rigging out is really meant best for each situation, right? So if the situation calls for it, then I love decking out the camera, getting myself a nice, external monitor or external battery system or external audio if needed. Like using my F6, I love using my F6, but like for a shoot like this where I'm the only one there as the video production professional, and I need to have like all my audio going into the C70, right? And I need to have the two cameras, they're each capturing their angle and they're doing what they're doing, but I also need to travel light. Like I only have like the 3 bags that I talked about, and it's just me traveling. So needing it to be that small kit, in that it's necessity like that. Like I said, using the DJI Osmo Pocket for B-roll, like I do have a little bit of like a handheld setup I could do for the C70. Like I have a little side grip and stuff like that. I could get handheld stuff, but I'd probably just use the Osmo, especially like if I'm going to just be getting some nice cut-in B-roll stuff that's used within the interviews and that sort of thing.
What millimeter is the Osmo equivalent?
It's a 20 millimeter if you're shooting in D-Log, but if they actually just did a firmware update where it does this like punch in mode where you can get 40 millimeter equivalent, but it's limited to like the Rec 709 color profile, which is fine.
I mean, that's great. Oh, come on, who's gonna know the difference? Everything
exactly right. It's more for us in post, right? Like, we're like, oh, I wish I could color match a little bit better. But apparently, it's actually D-Log M that's in the Osmo Pocket, and apparently it's more of which it's weird. I don't know a lot about it, so I'm not going to expand on it. But I've read that it's not an exact log profile. Like, there's no like white paper on how the gamma curve relates and stuff. So even in DaVinci, you're supposed to like use the color converter and just say it's Rec 709, which I'm like, so it's not a log profile. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But so I may even just shoot with it in that 40 millimeter mode, and just shoot with it in that profile. I think it's just more, I was thinking about like matching the Canon cameras to it to the Canon cameras. But I mean, nowadays it's like pretty easy to match cameras, even if you're in a Rec 709 profile. I have a color card too, though. So
is D-Log what DJI uses? Because I feel like I've used that on my drone.
Yes, so D-Log, there is a D-Log, and it's like a proper log curve that they have a white paper on and all that, and that's what's in the drones and like all of the higher end, like the 4D, the Ronin 4D and stuff like that have the D-Log, but the DJI Osmo Pocket and I think the Action too have D-Log M, which is like it's a whole different thing, and I of course I got the Osmo Pocket, and then I did all this research, and I was like, oh wait a minute, it's not like a true log profile, but I shot some D-Log M footage, and I like direct compared to the C70, and you can get it to match 100%. So it's just you got to like know how to work with it in like DaVinci or Premiere or whatever you're using. You just got to be able to figure out how to match it. And like I said, nowadays it's super easy to do that. So
I'd love to just sit over your shoulder and watch you color correct, Mike.
All that pressure.
Seriously, if we ever want to do that one day, I'd be totally down. To watch you, not me. I don't want you to see anything I do.
We should do a color-thon where like you get both the same clip and we both have to color it.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm never gonna compete with you or have any comparison with stuff of mine to yours on the same screen ever. But I might start a lighting series. I was thinking it might be fun to try to recreate some
cool,
scenes and stuff that are just to kind of showcase, have it be super short one, kind of be fun, and just kind of have it be kind of me like trying to recreate a single space. And I was kind of thinking of doing I don't know if you saw the music video for Sabrina Carpenter's Please Please Please, but Barry Hogan at the end is tied up and she's I just think it's a really funny scene, and he's just got this beautiful balance of like red and yellow light beams kind of hitting him in this parking lot, and I thought it'd be really fun to try to recreate it. So
that's awesome.
Stay tuned. That's what I'm gonna try to do.
Well, I was gonna say, do you follow on Instagram William H. Baker, I think his name is, the guy who like literally his whole channel is like taking a scene from like a movie, like he did on Oppenheimer when Oppenheimer came out. He did like a scene from Oppenheimer, and he like did the whole lighting the way that they did in the movie, and he recreated it with like Amaran lights.
Well, that's perfect. That's what I have. That's what I got to do.
Right, more affordable stuff, which is cool, and he makes it look really good. So William H. Baker is his name. I'm pretty sure that's his name. We'll have to we'll add a correction if needed, but he's really good, and he does those like, he'll take like scenes from movies or scenes that are like, he's like, oh, let's make like a cool like moody smoky room scene, and then he's like, this is how I lit this, and then you kind of like you see the after like at the beginning, and then he goes through like how he did it, and it's really cool. It's really he's got a solid Instagram and I think he does it's on YouTube too. So
I'm gonna have to take a look at this guy. I feel like I follow a million of these people, so I feel like I've had to have seen him. No way I haven't. But he sounds super neat. Maybe if you're
a video production professional, I'm sure you've seen him on your Instagram feed. So
maybe we can even be friends.
There you go. Yeah,
I followed him. I just followed him. That's it. We're gonna be buddies now. Now we just have to tag him in this, and that's it. We're gonna be
cool
buddies.
Dude. Yeah,
William H. Baker. I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God, now he knows I'm gonna steal his shtick. Is it count as stealing if I didn't know he is doing it this whole time?
Right. No, dude. I think you got it. I think you're doing your own twist. And honestly, I think that's like social media in a nutshell. Is not like copying it exactly, but doing your own thing with it for sure. So I think I'm excited to see that, to see your lighting reimagined series.
Yeah, I want to do it with some like, just kind of some quick cuts, some, more clickety clack sound effects like of the lights being played. Okay, this is gonna sound really dumb because it was not really the best received movie, but you've seen Solo, the Star Wars story, or have you seen the trailer for Solo Star Wars story? More importantly.
I actually haven't, but I will.
Oh man, it's just really a perfect fun clicky sound effect noises that he's turning on the ship before Lucasfilm's logo pops up.
Yeah,
and it's kind of just like this rev kind of sound, like guitar sound effect that they use for the Lucasfilm, and it just is like, man, this movie should have been cooler. Too bad. But
like when the trailer's better than the movie itself.
Oh, I love a good trailer though. Sometimes like a trailer is a great memory.
Trailers are like a true art, 100%. And like, it's one of those things where like it gets you like really amped for the movie and that sort of thing. Like, I've seen the trailer for. Have you seen Bring Her Back? The trailer for Bring Her Back.
Yeah, super creepy.
The Philippo brothers are awesome. So like, I'm looking forward to seeing that just from the trailer, and obviously because Talk to Me was so good.
Yeah. Plus, I'm also so excited that they're like YouTube creators as well. So it's really, it gives kind of like, not just hope to me, but to a lot of people out there. It just goes to show you can make it out there and make some cool stuff.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things too where you can easily transition, from doing one thing to another. And again, they made really good YouTube content. Like I never personally watched any of their stuff, but like, they amassed a huge following. And then they're like, we also have these great stories to tell, and let's just do it, right? And their first film was a banger. So, and their second film looks amazing. So it's one of those things where like they do have true talent, in the the Rucka Rucka stuff and in filmmaking, which is really cool.
You should check out their Harry Potter versus Star Wars because, as you know, if you can do horror, you can also do comedy.
Yes.
And it's like really rough. It looks like it wasn't meant to be. Doesn't look like any kind of production value at all. It looks like some kid just kind of filmed it in their backyard. But really, like, it just keeps going, and the effects are really good, and you can see like, oh, they put a lot of effort into coordinating all of this. Really, really, really funny.
I think that's really awesome too when like. You don't need $1 million budget in order to, make something great and make something that resonates with people. And I think that's really like a true showcase of that is their whole channel, and that they had they have the comedy to back it up, which is like, it's like in our industry, you say content is king, right? So
I was going to say, as long as it's not filmed on a cell phone for me, I'm pretty good,
right? Just invest in the camera, please.
Yeah, I know. Just a little bit. And come on, make it horizontal, people. Come on.
Exactly. Landscape, 16:9, please, please, please. So I think that was actually a good segue into our, somewhat, the idea of this, tech episode we got going here, is, do you need the most spec'd out camera or gear to create something really great? I had this little bit of like a epiphany moment thing where I recently got, as you may or may not know, I recently got a Komodo. I'm talking to our audience. I know, Joe, I got a Komodo, but
I've heard about the Komodo.
Yes,
and I'm still waiting to take a look.
I've been rigging it out. I got the outrigger handle. I got the small HD monitor and all. Like, you have fun rigging it out, right? But it got me thinking, do you need like all of that rigging out in order to make something great, right? So, we all know the answer. There's a lot of people on Instagram and stuff that talk about it and like, oh yeah, you can make anything with anything nowadays, right? But I think that wasn't more true. And back then, it actually wasn't really that true. We'll get into it, but I have an old C300 Mark I, so like the first C300 Canon's first cinema camera, right? I have one of them, and it's just kind of like sits on the shelf and collects dust. But it's one of those things where I was like, I saw it and I was like, it's a really awkward, weird looking camera, but it had everything you needed ready to go out of the box when you first got it, right? So it had like a weird clamshell monitor thing, but it was a monitor that had two XLR ins and the audio controls right on that big clamshell. It had a top handle, it had the side grip, And then it had, like I talked about with the C70 earlier, it has all the buttons right on the side, like every button you could want, changing the color profile, changing the adding peaking, adding waveform monitor. All that stuff was just so accessible, and it was all right there. There was no, you didn't need to buy anything. You really just had to put a lens on it and compact flash cards. It's what it shoots to. So you just had to get a couple of those back in 2011, and you were on your way, right? So that it was just one of those things that got me thinking, like, like this camera was really kind of like overlooked back when it first came out too, because the opening price tag for it was $20,000. So
which is insane.
Yeah. Well, the technology too was a little bit like, because it was taking the newer future-proofed 4K that was coming out with a lot of like digital cinema cameras with REDs and stuff like that at the time, and it was basically saying like it has the 4K sensor, right? But the processing power for it wasn't really there in 2011, so it takes the 4K image and it downsamples it to 1080 in camera. So like what we do, if you were to export, you take a 4K capture and you export in 1080p, and it looks a lot better because of the downscaling that you do in post. It just does that in camera, right? And that makes the image look really nice and really, really pretty, even though so you're not worrying about the 4K file sizes. You just get the 4K image out of it. And so that was their campaigning around that at the time. And now in 2025, the image probably doesn't hold up that too well. And one thing I do want to do, and maybe I'll put some footage in, I'll have to do a comparison. I want to kind of take the Komodo and the C300 Mark I and put them side by side, head to head. I think that'd be a funny. I mean, we all know that Komodo objectively will look better, but I think that there's going to be something about the C300 that's still going to kind of, I don't know, give us a little bit more of a filmic look. Still.
Do you think there's something about the nostalgia of the look of the older cameras, though, in comparison to clean stuff nowadays, that I think it's almost kind of like vinyl records in a way? People are kind of interested in getting older looks. Oh God!
Right now, it's like I've seen a lot of people saying they shot their commercial for a throwback thing, like for an 80s thing, with a VHS camera or a Betamax camera, or they trying to use an emulation in post to get that or whatever, and that's like currently what's going on. But I think the getting like the DSLR cinema look, like remember when like we were shooting on 5D Mark IIs and 5D Mark IIIs in like 2009, 2010. That's going to be in like probably 5 or 10 years. That's going to be the coveted look, right? That's going to be what everybody's going to want to shoot on, because it's like we as filmmakers kind of started there, and that's going to start to turn into our nostalgia. Right now, we're still kind of in that like chasing after like the Sony look or like the Canon look or whatever. We're trying to find these like modern looks, but I think there is a movement of trying to get away from like a digital video looking image, like a super sharp image, to like a more softer, pleasing, still in focus, obviously, but like a little bit of a softer roll off, like in that, and like all those sorts of things. So like I think eventually it'll be like, oh wait, that beautiful, like even like the older Red cameras, like the Red One and the Red Monstro and stuff like that. Those cameras are starting to come back into relevance even now, because people are like, oh, that original Red sensor, the 4K Red sensor that they had when they first started coming out, that's like starting to be coveted at this point.
No, gosh, you think maybe we'll never be happy, or maybe nostalgia will drive every new generation of filmmakers to make whatever their parents or older generation was using. I don't know. Maybe there's no way to stop it, or maybe they'll make the perfect camera. We'll be perfectly happy with the roll off.
I don't know.
It's possible, Mike.
It's possible. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. But yeah, so just a little bit more about the C300. As I was going into my little rabbit hole, I found that there was some films that were shot with the C300 Mark I. You may have heard the films, and you may have even seen them, but you may have not known that they were shot with a C300. So one of those, I'm actually going to start with the one that I have seen and that I know the most about. It's called Blue Ruin, and it came out in 2013. This is a great film that has a lot that kind of shows how crowdfunding. That was its big call to fame, was like it was crowdfunded for like $35,000, and then like Jeremy Saulnier like mortgaged his house and maxed out his credit cards. Macon Blair did the same, and they kind of just like were like, I hope we can do this, man. And they got Devin Ratray from Home Alone, Buzz from Home Alone. They got him to be in it, and they got some higher higher named actors to be in the movie. And I mean, they're you know, pretty respectable actors and that sort of thing. So anyway, they made it happen, and Jeremy Saulnier, and I'll include the link in the description, but there's a great like short interview that he did with Canon, like to kind of promote the C300. And he basically said, he's like, I'm going to shoot this film on a C300 Mark One because I know I'll be able to get it and I'll own it. I want to own the camera, right? Because if you're a filmmaker, you're trying to make a film 2011, 12, and it's like you're probably going to have to rent an Ari, or you're going to have to rent a Red or whatever. He's like, I can own the C300 Mark One, and he just basically was like, I have a bunch of Canon L lenses, so he used all Canon L lenses, and that's what he shot the whole film with. And if you watch
awesome.
it's on Amazon Prime right now. You can go watch it. There's just the way the colors came out, that he did a really good job of like using. He used natural light, and he was using camera almost like a documentary filmmaker, right? Mm-hmm. Which was really cool. And that's what the C300 I think does give you that ability to kind of have almost a documentary kind of. It's like an all-in-one package, and you can kind of run around with it. And it's funny, there's another small behind the scenes featurette that they made. It's called No Regrets, and you can find it on YouTube. Again, link in the description. And at the end of it, there's like one screenshot of Jeremy with the C300, and then he goes, and then like they go right after that, they're like in the limo when it was at Cannes, because this film was at Cannes, and when they're in the limo, they're getting in, they're like, wait guys, is anybody going to ask that there's where's all the BTS? And then there's no BTS because we were all just doing other stuff. They were like literally all like working themselves ragged, and so nobody got any BTS photos or there's like one image of because nowadays it's like everything has a behind the scenes featurette or something like that, but this one's just really like a bunch of interviews, the No Regrets, with like the cast and Jeremy and McCann. So it was a really amazing film, and I don't want to really like get into the film too much, just like I think I just wanted to bring it up again so people can watch it and kind of form their own like thoughts and opinions about it. But I love the film. It's just one of those like great movies. The story is there, and then the fact that it was shot on the C300 just got me like, I was just like so pumped about that, because it's just one of those cameras that, again, I think a lot of people overlooked. And then I mean, I don't even think I mentioned it, the other films that you may have seen. Blue is the Warmest Color, which is also 2013, was shot on exclusively on the C300 Mark One. And then there's a film, Victoria, which is a German film, I think, and it was it was actually, the technical marvel of that film is that it's known for being shot in completely one take. So they just, for 2 straight hours, roll the camera, and they got the whole movie. And I think they did it like 3 times or something, 4 times, and they used whatever take was the long take. So that was another film that was, again, shot with the C300 Mark One, which is really cool. Oh, the last thing too, and there was also one, there was a short made in 2011 when the C300 Mark One came out called When You Find Me. That was directed by Dallas Bryce Howard and produced by her dad, Ron Howard. So I thought that was pretty cool that the C300 got its own like kind of like bigger named folks that were creating even a short to release with the camera. So and
yeah,
Joey,
I watched it. It was really sweet. And you know what? I was talking about the nostalgia. I think it kind of like lent itself to it because it was kind of a real Amblin coded kind of thing about kids looking for heaven, looking for parents that are passed on kind of thing. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
But the softness of the image and the flaring and the light, the highlights were really beautiful. Those kind of more older school looking.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I could see why people went crazy for it because the look of it was fantastic. And I mean, I think especially like nowadays, I could see people nowadays looking into it because it's still a fantastic image for what people are kind of looking for that softer look now. Mm-hmm. And it's also, what, a 20th of the price of what it was.
Oh, yeah. Nowadays, you can get one for like $800, which is like,
that's insane.
Wild.
That's so crazy.
And the cool thing is too, like a lot of the times people are like, oh, I need like the bigger cameras, right, to get these like bigger images, whatever. But unless you're like delivering for broadcast spec, or you're delivering for like a client that's requesting that spec, you can get away with 1080p output, right? Mm-hmm. Or even, and honestly, you probably could shoot the 1080p from the C300 Mark One and then just upscale it. So it to 4K, and it'll still look great, So I think that there's a lot of like, people are gonna like still probably sleep on this camera because it didn't get a lot of fanfare when it first came out. Obviously, the price tag was too high, definitely. Like I think within like a month or two, they slashed it to like 16,000 instead of 20 because it's like that's outrageous. But
Yeah.
it was kind of its first cinema camera. They're like they wanted to really because they had something with the 5D Mark III, right? They were like, oh, we're the cinema guys. We're gonna make this into a cinema body and sell it. But then it's like, okay, you can't have it at that 20K price. So they learned quickly from that. But then and nowadays, 14 years later, you can get one for under $1,000, and I think that's really kind of can unlock, and you can get EF lenses are like, dirt cheap nowadays. So
Yeah. It is kind of attractive when you say it all like that.
Right? And you can get a full package and you can own it. I think that's another thing too, is like you can just get out there and start filming, right? The battery life is amazing.
And it is nice because I think about when I'm rigging out my camera all the time, I almost get it's not even almost the rigging out time frame and effort that gets me. It's more the decision fatigue of what I want to do with, or what do I want to equip my camera with for that day, and that's kind of what brings me down. So there are times where I wish I just wish this thing was a bit more all inclusive. There are times where I kind of think, do I want the DJI 4D? I don't know.
Right?
It's like I kind of get it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean that we could do a whole episode on the 4D because it's just an amazing camera. Because there's a lot more modularity to that too. But like if you're looking for a camera, and I mean, because Canon still kind of has like their own, and you can argue like, oh, the FX6 is kind of like just like all in one body, right? But the FX6 is really expensive. Same with the Canon's newest camera, the C400. Same thing. It's like $8,000, right? And again, you are getting 6K with those. I think you get 4K with those the FX6 though, right? And then
I can get 6K on this guy here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about the resolutions necessarily. It's like, can you move around with that? Like for example, I probably could have made it so that I could fit the C300 Mark I in my bag with me here and taken it with me. But like the Komodo would have been like, okay, I have to bring like all this other, all these attachments. And it's not even like I could probably leave that at home. The Komodo has like on the top of it, it has a small monitor, but it's like, you're not going to, actually monitor from that, right? Whereas the giant clamshell thing on the C, and also the C300 Mark I has an EVF. You could put your eye up to the cup and be able to, in bright sunlight, pop it right there, and your third point of contact. Plus, you're able to see in the sunlight, right? So
our friend Alessandro was telling me about the importance of using an eyepiece, and I was thinking about it while you were mentioning travel earlier. I'm like, I kind of could see that if you didn't want to pack a monitor and you had an eyepiece, it wouldn't be perfect. But, I mean, it would be a nice closer look than your back monitor screen. Yep. So, I don't know. There's a really interesting camera. Really cool camera.
Oh, yeah. I love it. And it's one of those things, too, where, like, I think, again, it takes kind of having, like, cameras that we build out, right, to then step back and be like, well, do we really need to do this, right? And honestly, I think that's just the filmmaking journey, because then you're gonna be like, I have this all-in-one camera, and then be like, wait, I love modding it out. So I don't know. It's like you go back and forth with it, but definitely, I think the C300 Mark I, and honestly, the other early Canon cinema cameras, the C100 Mark II, is also a really awesome camera that was was used for documentary filmmaking into the 2020s, right? I still hear about people that use the C100 Mark II, the C200, those guys. I'm a really big, and you could say I'm a Canon fanboy, sure, but I do like the Canon cinema cameras, the bigger cinema cameras. Just again, the versatility of them, that they're all in one package, and they have I love the buttons. I'm a buttons guy. I can't help it. I hate taking around in menus.
What a poor, abused fan base those Canon, and they're all wrong too. They're terrible products. No, I mean, it makes perfect sense. They make beautiful stuff, and there's nothing like Canon colors or their lenses.
I think sometimes just Canon does shoot themselves in the foot with a couple of their. That could be its own episode, but it's like it's an interesting thing being a Canon shooter for sure. But
well, anything's better than that Sony.
At least we're not a Sony fanboys, right?
They're fine, whatever. I don't even want to know what people think of me.
We're definitely outliers, my friend. All right, so thank you guys for listening to this tech episode of the Capture Scratch podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.